When I first moved to Chicago, I was 23, broke, and desperate for my own space. The studio apartment I found wasn't glamorous, just one small room on the top floor of an old 3-story building. But it was mine, and the rent was cheap, which was all I really cared about. The apartment had one window that overlooked a narrow alleyway. Across the alley sat another building, identical to mine, its windows staring directly into mine like twin mirrors. During the day, the alley barely saw any sunlight. At night, it was pitch black. But that never bothered me. I was working late nights bartending on the north side, usually stumbling home around 2:30 or 3:00 a.m., too tired to care about anything except food and sleep. A few weeks after moving in, I noticed something strange. I had just come home from work, kicked off my shoes, and turned on the light when I thought I saw movement in the window directly across from mine. Just a quick twitch of a curtain. I froze and stared, but the window was still and dark. Probably nothing, I told myself. Maybe someone startled by the light. But the next night, it happened again. I flipped on my light and caught the unmistakable movement of the curtain being pulled back, just slightly, before it fell back into place. I couldn't see who was behind it, just a void of darkness. Here's what really unnerved me. I'd never seen a single light on in that apartment, ever. It always looked vacant. Over the next few days, I watched more carefully. Every time I turned on my light at night, the curtain across the alley moved, every single time. So I ran a test. I sat in the dark by the window without turning any lights on. Nothing happened. But the moment I flipped on even the smallest lamp, the curtain shifted. Someone was watching me. I tried to be logical. Maybe it was a bored neighbor or someone who liked looking outside at night. But then I asked my landlord about it. He told me the unit across the alley had been vacant for months. That made my skin crawl. Still, I told myself I was overreacting, until one night. I got home later than usual, around 4:00 a.m. When I reached my door, I saw something wedged into the frame. At first, I thought it was junk mail, but when I pulled it out, my stomach dropped. It was a crumpled note with one word written in pen. Hey. My first thought was that it came from that window. I panicked, called a friend, grabbed a backpack, and left. The next morning, I demanded to see that apartment. The landlord hesitated, but eventually agreed. Inside, it was completely empty, except for one thing, a single metal folding chair positioned directly in front of the window facing my apartment. Someone had been sitting there, watching me, night after night. The police took fingerprints but never found anyone. I moved out that week, but sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night feeling like someone, somewhere, is watching me again. When I was 12, my family moved to a rural part of Oregon, miles from the nearest town. Our property sat on several acres of pine forest, quiet and peaceful, but far away from anyone else. The house itself was old, built in the 1940s, and came with all the quirks you'd expect. Creaky wooden floors, an attic we never used, and a detached, weathered shed about 30 feet from the back door. The shed was packed with old tools and junk from the previous owner. My dad always said he'd clean it out, but he never did. We rarely went near it. The first time something felt wrong was on a weeknight, close to midnight. I was up reading under the covers with a flashlight when our golden retriever, Max, started barking like crazy. He was facing the shed, teeth bared, tail stiff. I peeked out the window but saw nothing but shadows. The next morning, we found boot prints in the dirt between the house and the shed. Deep ones. My dad said it was probably a neighbor passing through, but we didn't have any neighbors within walking distance. Over the next couple of weeks, Max barked at the shed multiple times at night, and each time, we found more boot prints leading toward it, but never away from it. One night, I woke to the sound of footsteps crunching gravel outside my window. They stopped, then continued toward the shed. The motion sensor light by the back door flicked on, and for just a second, I saw him, a tall man in a dirty gray coat, standing beside the shed door. His face was hidden in shadow. I woke my parents and my dad grabbed his rifle, but by the time he got outside, the man was gone. He replaced the shed's lock and reinforced the doors. For a while, things were quiet. Then Max disappeared. One afternoon, he was there, running around as usual. That night, he was gone. We searched everywhere, through the woods, down the road, calling his name for hours. Nothing. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about the man by the shed, wondering if he had something to do with Max's disappearance. Around 3 a.m., I heard the back door creak. My dad was already awake, rifle in hand. We moved toward the window and watched as the motion sensor light came on. The man was back. Only this time, he was holding something. In one hand was a knife, in the other, Max's collar. My dad yelled and ran for the door, but the man bolted into the woods. When the police came, they searched the shed, and what they found still makes me shiver. The floor was cleared, symbols were carved into the dirt, and in one corner was a hidden compartment behind a false panel. Inside was a backpack filled with wallets, watches, and clothing that didn't belong to us. They also found a notebook, pages covered in strange symbols and drawings of houses, families, and eyes. We moved out days later. Sometimes, I still dream of that man standing in the yard, watching our house. And when I wake up, I swear I can still hear Max barking in the distance. In the summer of 2018, 4 friends and I decided to unplug from everything and spend a weekend camping deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains. There was no cell service, no neighbors, just trees, silence, and open sky. It sounded perfect. We hiked miles off the grid to a clearing near a quiet lake. We set up our 3 tents, started a fire, and cooked hot dogs and marshmallows. That first night was exactly what we needed. Laughing around the fire, telling stories, watching the stars, and falling asleep in complete peace. The second night was different. Around 11 p.m., we were still around the fire when Marcus, one of my friends, stiffened and pointed toward the trees. He swore he saw something, someone, duck behind a tree about 30 yards away. Tim, his younger brother, brushed it off as a deer, but 20 minutes later, we heard the loud snap of a branch. Abby whispered that she wanted to go to bed, and everyone agreed. That night, I woke to a sound I'll never forget. Heavy breathing just outside my tent. Slow, deliberate, human breathing. I froze. My first thought was that one of my friends had gone outside to use the bathroom. But I didn't hear footsteps. No zipper from any other tent. Just breathing. It moved from one side of the tent to the other, then stopped. After what felt like forever, I fell back asleep, convincing myself it was nothing. In the morning, over breakfast, Marcus and Hannah both said they heard it too, and Tim admitted that he thought he saw someone crouching near the fire pit around 4 a.m. We searched the area and found footprints circling all 3 tents. Most looked like boots, but one print, just one, was clearly from a bare human foot. That night, we stayed up late, keeping a much bigger fire going. We held our flashlights tight, nervously joking to mask our fear. Around 2 a.m., we heard movement again, the crunch of leaves, slow and steady. Then a voice, low, raspy, too quiet to understand, but definitely human. Marcus shined his flashlight toward the trees, and for a split second, we saw him, a naked man crouched behind a tree. When the light hit him, he scrambled away like an animal. We stayed together around the fire all night, too afraid to sleep. But just before dawn, something happened that still gives me chills. The zipper on my tent began to slowly slide down. I screamed, and everyone else screamed too. Whoever it was took off running. We didn't sleep another minute. As soon as the sun came up, We packed and hiked out. At the ranger station, we reported everything. The ranger listened carefully and then said something I'll never forget. "You're not the first group to report a man out there, sometimes more than one. They steal things, and worse." He didn't explain what worse meant. We didn't ask. I haven't been camping since.